Good morning, gentlemen. This is Joe, PCG Consulting. Hey, I'm just looking at month-end numbers for April for both locations. So you see the numbers here, and I see what she's showing. Okay, and then you have the breakdown. So I usually take these numbers here and I do a little crunch, just the calls and the emails, just so I can see. And I also did it for Amy. And then this time around, let's just take a look because you're paying. I'm looking at your ROI. You're paying on these things called show, and they got their base. So in this particular instance here, I'll blow it up just for everybody to see. This is this tab right here is Sam. So she had 28 shows for phone, and internet she had 17. Okay, I scroll down to the bottom, and I'm not real sure uh, how those totals are coming up down here, but I just, mind you, I'm just, if you count the tick marks, that's 28, excuse me, that's 28 shows, and that's 17, so that's 30, that's 45 right there. So that's a bonus level, 35, 45, 55. That's level 2. And then I'm just looking at your ROI, and I'm looking at Vicky. Vicky has, just so you can see right here, she's got show, she's got on internet, she's got 14, and then on phone call show, and I think she's on vacation. So she only had 23, right? As far as the tick marks go. But I'm not sure what the rest of these are down here, these totals. So maybe you guys can tell me. But so she didn't qualify for level 1. If she did, if they counted some other visits, some other shows, that's fine. But where it should be in these tabs, right? If I have a show from a lead that was a month ago, and it shows up today, and I didn't have an appointment on it, I can still count that show because that's a legitimate show because you've been working on it. But as long as the proof's in there, but it should be lined item and of course a note, you know. But here, this one is Juliana. Shows on internet, she had 15, and then phones, she had 16. So that puts me, at 20, 31. So she probably hit that 25 first deal, I guess. I'm thinking maybe. And then this one is Karen. That's your new girl. Internet. She well, you don't see the total, but shows 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. There's 11, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So she's at 20. She probably didn't make any money. Let's look at Misty. Um, and Misty is on phone. She has 20, and here, so she's got 32. Um, so I would just look at your ROI. This is just really for Bill and Kate and Mark to look at, and then you can do a look at from the numbers. But based on what she sent me as closeout, let's talk about this for a second, gentlemen. Let me show you what I see. Let's just break this down real quick and let you see what I'm talking about. North Lake, real numbers are in green or in red, and 460 is in black. So if I break down what they did in E-leads, Vicky had 57, Karen 59, 92. Misty is not getting any North Lake. She's all the other store. And then there's Sam with 79. If I add the calls to that, that puts me, at 118. That's fine. That puts me at, 145. That's probably a little high. And then Karen's sitting at 74. Okay. Um, Probably on the low side. And then Vicky's also at 80. Well, she's at 93. So on the low side there. But here's what's interesting. Vicky is a solid player. I'll give and take a little bit because look, her contacts are a little low, but her sets and shows are high. They're working their pay plan, gentlemen. So here's what I'm going to ask y'all to do is let's talk about pay plan on my next visit. Everywhere I've gone, we've installed pay plans for the team members themselves and the managers to drive the activity. they're definitely working their shows. But here's what's interesting. Shows to leads should be 22%. I know that we like to see 25 with calls combined, but calls are being blown out of proportion here. They're doing a far greater job on calls for shows, but doesn't look like we're selling much more. But anyway, she does 23%, 25%. She's doing a good job. I gave you some standards here. Your shows to e-leads right now is 19% as of close of business last month. That line should be 22%. Then you can add your calls to that. Sold to e-lead, you should be at 13. We were at 8, right? And then your calls, this should be 33. You're at 41. That's shows to calls. And then sold to calls, you ought to be at 22%, and you guys are dead on. So they're at least turning the butter here, but if I were to look at Juliana with 92 opportunities. She goes from 60 contacts to only 20 sets. She goes from 32 contacts to only 17 sets. So we're talking 37 appointments out of 92. You see what I mean? That's barely a third, right? We're looking for a little bit better game than that. I believe she's that talented and has that kind of skill, but I think maybe she's running a little too hard. She did have 17 and 15 shows, calls, and e-leads, so you're talking 32, and we sold 14 out of that. That's not even half. So just to kind of give you an idea, Sam's same problem over here, 62 contacts, and you see what's happening. She's closer, but the two people that are hurting you on that show to e-lead is these two folks right in here, right? And this one probably because she's new, but this one probably because she's taking on too much. And you just got to moderate that as a team leader. Then you come down here to calls and then take a look. She's the most aggressive call taker. The inbound call shocks me. Look how much more is in green and inbound in conversion in inbound calls. Why can't we have that kind of success on phone calls to an e-lead? This is calling in. This would be calling out. So imagine, and we're taking low-hanging fruit to trick that pay plan called shows, but maybe I'm not aggressively making outbound calls. One of the things you'll need to do is pull a report based on your inbound phone call traffic. Hopefully you can do that, and we can see the peaks and valleys per day and per week. Make sure coverage is right with schedule, but then you get in everybody rotation at the peak times. But then there's going to be those valley times where they can have plenty of time to make outbound calls. Now, if they're getting paid on shows from the equity mining and it's not on those tab sheets that we just looked at, they're working your pay plan pretty good against you for this kind of ROI on leads. Now, your lead count's only 287 for last month. I'd question that. How many good leads, bad leads, quality leads that come in? What sources that those come from? Why is that so dang low for 5 people? I mean, you got, well, at least 4 for Northlake. So this gives you an idea. And then if you take a look at AMeet, look at your conversion on your ROI. Misty's handling the bulk, 117 leads. This is your 460s, what they ought to be pulling, and this is what they really pulled. Okay, same thing up here for phone calls. That's really just a 360s. Okay, so but take a look at it. You ought to be, 22% here, you're running 14, and you ought to be 13 and you're running 5. So just give you an idea. You did like 7-8% conversion on leads to sold, but then your shows were about 19 total, phone calls and internet. And so when you blend the two, I mean, you can get a decent number, but you want to break it down for what you're paying. You're paying these girls hourly. And then I'd look at your manager pay. What are you paying Sarah to get you this kind of production? You pay to provide them the leads. You're paying for advertisement to drive the phone calls. So what is that presence digitally really doing for you? We have found different analytics coming from Google as opposed to what Cobalt is saying. Not that they're bad, but obviously things might get bent a certain way. We can help you make sure that your penetration in that area is right, because obviously without buying more leads, your digital presence, your digital game is where you'll get more calls, walk-in visits, and more leads coming in, period. But if you take a look at this, you see her e-lead conversions, 10% shows to e-leads. her 46% is shows to calls. If we have that kind of ability on inbound calls, why can't we do that on outbound calls? I think we just need to, sit down and make them calls. I think the girls are plenty of strong. Look here, same thing. Karen on inbound calls is stronger than anybody else. I wouldn't imagine she's as strong as anybody else. She doesn't know the car business. How is she so good at that and so crappy here? Where's the coaching? What's that coach look like? Okay, right here you've got a 350 batting average person all the time, right? This is her fielding and this is her at bat. This is her fielding and bat, so she's pretty consistent, and I'm not minding it too bad. She's a little stronger on the E leads. Why can't we show these girls what she's doing, right? This is based off of the report she sent me that may not include the equity mining. So equity mining, if it's interrupting time for outbound calls and I'm doing inbound calls and I'm fishing out of a barrel for the equity mining, they're leaving this to the side. And you guys are paying for this to come through. Remember, our process at the very beginning was a trackable process to extrapolate those sales from internet leads. Calls are calls, man. If the floor does a better job, let them do it. If the internet does a better job for BDC, let them do it. Right now, the girls are proving they can do a good job of getting shows on calls, but they sold 22 vehicles versus 20 up here on two different amounts. I mean, if you look at this, they sold sold the calls was 23 in Northlake, and e-leads to lead sold e-leads was 22. I mean, look at the numbers there. So this is double right here, double the amount of opportunities coming in. Even if I pull a 460s on that, I still should have came up with a little bit more. I mean, 287 is 10% is 28, 13% would have put you a little over 30. You left about 10 on the table on a month that y'all probably could have used it. And then here, A-Meat, not sure what's going on with those guys at the A-Meat store, but she sent 12 people and we closed 4. I should have had about 10 or 15 out of 25 for that many leads. And then here's the kicker. Out of 18, see 12 we only closed 4. Out of 18 we closed 7. How does that happen from a call to an e-lead? I will tell you that maybe the relationship with the desk has changed internally, and we might be penciling more deals or negotiating more over the phone. Internet leads, people are actually online looking for cars, looking for prices, looking for information. They're just looking for some help. And I don't want to say that we've gotten off track of that, but the numbers are indicating on a down month. Last month it wasn't too bad, but it wasn't March. But when I needed support from this department to pull some numbers up, it wasn't going to be in calls because, man, I mean, they obliterated the calls. It was going to be on what they did with working them leads. And it's not every person. Everybody's got their give and take in that department, so that's great. Look at what my main player, Vicky, is doing versus these two girls. A girl that's brand new, doesn't know the car business, and a girl that's a phone monker. Look at the results. Sam has got some ability. I'm just wondering, because of her access to the desk now, she's got the ability to close a lot more here. But then what are we getting busy with? We're leaving. There's too much red right in here. Too much red. So let you see that. You guys talk about it. What I'm interested in is drilling down on ROI, and then we can talk about digital aspect, whatever you want to do. Cobalt's fine, but we can just help you understand what you're getting. Here, I'm kind of like looking at a financial statement. I paid these girls 35, 25 shows, 35 shows, 45, 55 shows to give me this kind of production. And you paid to drive this activity to the house. Wanted you to see that. All right. Appreciate y'all very much. I really enjoy working with your group. You've got a good team. This is not a knock. This is just an observation based on production and what you guys are paying. And, we can just take it from there. Thank you so much.